This illustration from an 18th century German manuscript bears the title, The Materia Prima of the Stone of the Philosophers. The emblem can be seen to be divided into 3 layers, as is often found in alchemical emblems. The lowest here being the chaos of the philosophers, the highest being the heaven of the philosophers, and a region set between these two. Firstly, we look at the chaos of the philosophers. This is in the form of a stylized mountain, within which we see a window of 9 panes with blue octagonal forms, each bearing a number and a planetary metal sign. The numbers on these form the magic square of 3, which is traditionally associated with Saturn, in which the horizontal, vertical and diagonal lines all add up to 15. The top line has a sign for Sun, gold, Jupiter, tin and Moon, silver. The middle line has Mars, iron, Mercury, head of the dragon, and the lowest line has Venus, copper, tail of the dragon, and Saturn, lead. The head and tail of the dragon, of course, refer to the moon's nodal points. On top of this stylized mountain, we see a low round plinth bearing the signs of the elements, air and fire, earth and water. On account of the smoke billowing out, we should perhaps view this as the top of a furnace, with the grilled window below being the stoke hole or place where one adds the fuel. The fuel in this case is perhaps seen as the planetary metals found in the depths of the earth, in the chaos of the philosophers. In the central space of the emblem, we see the alchemical flask flanked by the figure of a king and queen. This flask has been heated on this furnace. On the side of the flask, close to the male, is a statement, the greatest heat, while on the female side we have extreme cold. The red king and the green queen both support the flask and guide the alchemical work. They bear the sun and moon respectively under their crowns, and thus they maintain a balance, moderate heat, neither too hot nor too cold. Beside them are written the 4 elements of God, the 3 principles of nature, the 2 seeds of the metals, the solar male and the lunar female, and the 1 fruit of the art, the tincture, symbolized by an inverted Mercury symbol. The flask itself is double-bellied, and within these chambers we see a number of symbols. At the bottom of the lower and wider belly, a human figure, possibly female, lies dead on a little plinth. Above it, a crowned black crow hovers. Around the dead figure, a number of little flames float upwards, while to the sides, drops of liquid descend. In the upper belly or chamber of the flask, a little child is seated, surrounded by red and blue flowers. The king and queen each hold the ends of a bar that passes through and supports the flask at this point. Thus we can see that an alchemical transformation has taken place, and the dead body at the bottom, having gone through a stage of the black crow, now is resurrected as this alchemical child form. This is further transformed as we move up to the elongated neck of the flask. There we see the letters alpha and omega. The alpha, the first, will be associated with the dead figure at the bottom of the flask, while the omega, the last, refers to this alchemical child that appears at the end of the process. The neck of the flask penetrates through into the heaven of the philosophers, and from the opening at its top, 8 flowers blossom forth. On the left we see a golden sun plant, then a blue flower of Saturn, a red one associated with the dragon's head, and a yellow flower for Venus. On the right side is a silver moonflower, then a yellow one for Jupiter, a leafy plant for the dragon's tail, and possibly a nettle for Mars, In the centre is a rose blossom associated with Mercury. Thus the planets and the moon's nodes, which were found in the lower chaos of the philosophers, are now transformed into these heavenly flowers. High in the realm of the heaven of the philosophers, above a great crown, is a spiritual outpouring of light. This emerges from a downward pointing triangle bearing the name of God, Jehovah. This indicates perhaps the divine seeking to work in matter. Outside this luminous triangle is a statement, "In this sign you shall conquer," usually applied to the sign of the Christian cross. Outside of that is the phrase, "the tincture of the sacred scripture." The creator of this emblem means us to see the end of the alchemical work being a spiritual one, and that the true alchemical tincture is that of the Holy Scripture which transforms human souls.